Solomon, Isaac, Mark.
So this is a really cool plant. Let me introduce you to my friend Gary. This is Garrya elliptica in the Garryaceae. It's kind of a weird family, and this is actually the only genus in that family too. So if you kind of back off and you just see this, you're coming down the trail. At first it looks a little bit oaky, but there's a good character that's going to distinguish it from all the oaks. If you permit me a little branch, Gary. I'll bring this over to you. The leaves are opposite. And really, when you look at them closely, they share some similarities with oaks, like they're leathery. They have kind of, wavy margins and some, hairs on the lower surface, but they're also very distinctive. These hairs on the bottom, if you look closely, let's see if you can get in there and focus, it's actually composed of a tuft of many interlacing silver kind of matted hairs. And that's a good distinguishing feature for this particular plant, Garrya elliptica.
Felt like.
Yeah, it's like felt. So you can kind of, if you can feel that, it feels nice. And for this species, Garrya elliptica, a good character is that it has the wavy leaf margin, the wavy gravy margin. So that's a cool thing about this plant that you could use to recognize it, even if it doesn't have any of the floral or fruit characteristics present. But if it does, it's very hard to mistake. The structure of the flower on this plant is what gives its common name, the silk tassel bush. It has these long catkin structures where the flowers are arranged on a pendulous stem, and they are, branching off of that stem. One thing to pay attention to with this plant, I don't think we've seen this or talked about this yet, but the plants are dioecious, which means that they have two different sexes, and that the sexes are born on different individual plants. So a plant is a male or a plant is a female. If it's a male, then it'll have flowers coming out of the catkin that are pretty smaller. They're smaller, they're reduced, and their sole purpose is to release pollen. If it's a female plant, then what's coming out of the flower are these receptive, stigmatic surfaces that capture pollen and then develop into fruits. In either case, they both share the same silk tassel-like structure. It's a plant that is pretty much endemic to California, but ranges into southern Oregon, like a lot of these things. And it's just, right along the coast mostly, kind of mixed in with woodlands of oak, chaparral shrubs, and it can be in some more dense forest habitats, but it's often in open places like this along trails. It is a tree, not a large tree, and it doesn't tend to have, the classic kind of upright trunk. It's kind of like a sprawling, larger shrub. So yeah, this is Gary, silk tassel bush, Garrya elliptica in the Garryaceae. Don't forget to notice its opposite leaves. They are simple, so just one leaf. They have wavy margins and a felt-like whitish underside, and the silk tassel flowers.